I'm Alex, and welcome back to Drummer Artistiverse Studios. I'm currently updating my Thor costume from the first Thor MCU movie that I made around 2011, and updating it to match Thor from Infinity War. So, in my last video, I started with making the boot covers. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you the process I used for creating the bracers. I used a very similar process. It's very simple, so you should be able to follow along with it. Hopefully it'll give you an idea on how you might be able to make a simple, easy, and fairly cheap bracer that you'd be able to use for some cosplay that you're going to be doing sometime in the future. So let's see how I did it. So the next step is going to be to rebuild the bracers. I didn't do any hemming on these. It was just multiple layers of vinyl put together, sometimes glued, sometimes stitched, to create the piece. There's a back, a top, and then this section was in the middle. I'm not going to worry about doing that. With the new design, as I close it out, with the new design of the bracer, I'm going to do just the base bracelet. I'm going to keep the same shape. I'm going to thin it down a little bit so it's not as tall. But then I'm going to do upper layering on the top here and add some straps going around it to give it the strapped look. It'll still be fairly simplistic and actually should go fairly quickly. Again, I only need to do it to one. I'm going to draw a pattern this time so that I only have to do it once. So that just gives me an idea of where it's going to be and what it will vaguely look like. So now I'm going to cut this out of my material. So take two on the bracers. The original material didn't work for multiple reasons. It was too flimsy, didn't look right once it was on my arm, didn't like it. So I've switched back to using the marine boat vinyl to make the bracers. I'm going to layer it the same way I did the originals, so that way it will just be easier, simpler, get it done. So right now I'm just cutting out the base, and then I'll cut out the pattern piece to go on the top. Don't know if I'll actually do the hemming on this one. Might just stitch it. Yeah, that will work much, much better. So what I'm going to do, because his bracers also have, this is just a detail line, but what I'm going to do is do that as another piece to raise it up. So what I'm going to do, because I can actually see a line on the top and bottom of his bracers, I'm going to hem the top and the bottom. I'm then going to cut another piece that will be zigzag stitched on top that will match that. I'll then cut another piece to zigzag stitch together to create this out of two more layers. So in total, when it all gets done, there's going to be 4 layers here. So, now that my machine is set the way I want it, I'm going to zigzag stitch all the way around this whole thing to adhere this piece on. I'm then going to cut the next piece, which will be the border that goes around here, which will be zigzagged on top. So the thickest point will be 3 layers. So you can see the layered aspect to it there. This one is slightly higher. Now the one that goes on top will be even higher than that. Instead of pinning this, because these have proven difficult in the past, I'm going to try putting a dab of super glue here and there. And there's the first one. So I'm still going to create a few straps that will just go across and just get stitched right along the edge so that when it's wrapped around they're still loose. But that is essentially the first bracer, minus that and the Velcro. So the next step I have to do is put the Velcro onto the bracer to be able to close it. I've already done one. So one side of it I'm putting each type of Velcro, so that as it closes up, there you go. Now his new bracers also have this strap on it that wraps around the bracer, just as an added piece of decoration. What I'm going to do is actually put it on, wrap it like that, and then actually contact glue it in place. Then come back through and cut it off here so that it can open and close and I don't have to wrap it every time. But first, I'm going to go ahead and put the Velcro on the second bracer. I want to make sure it's mirrored from the first one. So I'm only pinning the top of each piece, because I'm going to come back through and I'll do a straight stitch down, I'll do a zigzag stitch, and then I'll do another straight stitch. And since it's a straight seam and everything, I'm not going to bother trying to pin all the way down. It just takes up time. And there we go. So now all I have to do is put them on and wrap it around. So instead of contact cement, I am going to glue it and then cut it off and stitch it so I never have to wrap it again. But instead of the contact cement, I'm going to use super glue, or cyanoacrylate, CA glue, as a lot of hobbyists and crafters and prop makers will call it. So I'm going to put some of that on it, but to help it set better is I have an Instaset, which is an accelerator. You put this on and it sets almost instantly, no dry time. Dab a little bit of the glue on in certain key spots. And it looks like that worked. At least enough to hold it in place until I stitch it. So now just like that. So now I'll come through and do some stitching there and some stitching here, and that should hold it on. This will allow it to slightly move so that it doesn't look like it's permanently stitched. Got a little cleanup from the glue and everything, but now every time I put it on, it's perfectly wrapped. So there you go. That's the process I used for making fairly simple bracers to wear with my Thor Infinity War costume. Hopefully you guys were able to follow along and now have some form of an idea of how you could make a simple and easy bracer for some cosplay you will be doing in the future. Keep an eye out for my next video, which will come out in about another 2 weeks. It will be going over how I made the vest that I wore with the Infinity War costume. Again, very similar process, but a lot more detail in this one. So keep an eye out for that video, and thanks for watching. See you next time.